All right, Megan, are you recording?
Yes, I'm good to go.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, hi, Allison. I was going to introduce myself to everybody that joined, but I think you're our only person that's joined us so far. But I'm Kappa Delta's Vice President Member Educator, and I just wanted to begin by thanking all of you guys who have joined us today for this presentation. I know we will be discussing how we can continue to follow the Norse Nine. Since we can all agree that this pandemic is not going away anytime soon, it's crucial that we continue to follow these steps. So as leaders on this campus and in our community, we need to continue to set an example for those around us. I hope you all get something out of this presentation, and feel free to unmute yourself at any point during this presentation or chat any questions that you might have throughout this presentation. And with that, we shall begin. So I wanted to start with a short video, and this video can be found on NKU's website if you search COVID precautions in Norse Nine. I think I have the link at the very end of this presentation. But so this is just a brief video that was put together by NKU, listing just the Norse Nine, so the different ones. And then after we watch this, we'll dive deeper into each of the topics, and we'll touch on what following these guidelines look like and how we can be successful not only as students, but as leaders and organizations as an organization as a whole, and how we can put these guidelines into place. So Bella, if you want to press play. So that was just a cute little video that lists them in order, and we're going to go through and break them down one by one. So Bella, if you want to head to the next slide. So the first one, so our first regular rule or guideline is to continue virtual operations when possible. So this is through remote instruction and Zoom meetings. So my first question for you all, because I know how participative you are in our workshops. So what are ways that you have found you are the most successful during online classes or just being remote in general? You guys can put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and talk about ways that you found make you more successful during this time.
My planner, my calendar, to always keep me on top of things, because I think I have so many virtual meetings, so they kind of keep it on.
Yeah, there's some. So putting their phone on do not disturb, keeping a schedule, connecting with a friend or two to discuss topics we don't understand, not doing Zoom classes in my bed, moving to a different location in their house, coffee, that's a big one. Getting out of bed for Zoom, study groups, having a routine. Yes, for sure. These are all great ones. And some that I just came up with on my own that I found are most beneficial for myself, or is having a designated workspace, either at your house, your apartment, or your dorm, and try to make that out of your room if possible, because we all have the temptation of our bed when we're sitting so close to it. So try to get out of your room, find a place where you can really sit down and dedicate that to studying. That way we can be successful in the classroom. If you do have to be in your room when you're doing remote instruction, make your bed. That way you won't be as tempted to climb in there and get underneath the covers and then be distracted and procrastinate throughout the rest of the day. And then if your class doesn't have a specific time that they meet virtually, make a schedule like you all were saying. Schedule out a time of the day. So maybe it doesn't meet a day of the week. Say Wednesdays from 2 to 4 o'clock, I'm going to work on this class specifically, and I'm going to get that work done for that class every single Wednesday from 2 to 4. That way you're not putting it off until Sunday when things are due at 11:59, and you're holding yourself accountable in scheduling that time for yourself to accomplish that. And then Zoom meetings, that's another way we are continuing virtual operation. And I bet a bunch of you are Zoomed out. I feel like I go to a Zoom class or a Zoom meeting 3 times a day at least. So some ways as like people in organizations and organizational leaders, we can avoid Zoom burnout by like going into breakout rooms, having fun conversation and not just sitting and staring at a screen and listening to people talk the entire time. We could do themed meetings to kind of keep us engaged and excited to come to meetings. That's one way. And then just icebreakers in breakout rooms or just like as a whole group that gets people talking, that gets people moving. And that way you're just not staring at a screen for a whole entire hour. So just changing it up because it is easy to get bored when everything's done via Zoom day in and day out. So Bella, if you want to head to the next screen. Number 2 is always wearing your face covering. And so it's almost impossible now to like not be able to find masks anywhere. I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, they were kind of scarce. We know we were trying to save them for essential workers. And now any store you go into, like it doesn't matter, you can find like a face covering of some sort being sold there or being offered there for you to wear. But if you're not wearing a face covering correctly, it defeats the whole purpose of even having one. So where should we wear our face coverings? We should wear them on campus at all times unless you're actively eating or drinking. And if you're actively eating or drinking, it's important to store your face mask in a clean and safe space. You don't want to just throw it face down on the table because you don't know how clean that table is. And then you're picking it up and you're putting it right back on your face. So you want to make sure when you are actively eating and drinking, it's stored in a nice clean place. In groups where you are near people that do not live in your household. So if you're in your house, obviously you're fine. You're coming in contact with those people every day. But if you're outside of your household, you need to have your masks on. If you're in close quarters with anybody, be wearing our mask. It's better to be safe than sorry. So always have your mask on as much as possible. And then even outside, if you can't keep 6 feet from people that don't live in your house, you need to have your mask on. And then anytime you're on campus, regardless, you need to have your mask on, unless you're eating or drinking, like I said. But masks on campus 24/7, like we know. And then how we should wear our mask. It should cover our nose and our chin and our mouth. So it should go from the top of our nose to our chin. And if it has like the adjustable part at the nose, make sure you're pinching that tight, because the tighter the seal, the better off you are. And then I have so I have these 4 different types of face masks. Well, 3 really. You have the reusable ones. And those are nice because they're good for our environment and they protect us, because instead of just wearing one and throwing it away, like after each use, you can wash those. But one thing you want to make sure is that those have at least 2 or 3 layers of cloth to them. That way, it's just not like a very stretchable fabric that things can easily get through. So when you're buying masks, you want to make sure they have some substance to them and they're actually protecting you and those around you. And then we have some surgical face masks, and those are like our single-use face masks, and those are beneficial, but at the same time, we have to wear masks all the time. So you want something that's more sustainable for the earth. And then we have the N95s. And while those are great for like healthcare professionals, if you're not being like properly fitted for them, they don't do much more than a typical surgical mask because you don't have the proper fit and the proper seal. But again, we wear our masks over our nose and our mouth, and it goes to the bottom of our chin, and we wear those at all times when we're going in and out of businesses to keep ourselves and others safe. Next slide, Miss Bella. Okay, so washing our hands frequently. So what should you use when you wash your hands? You guys can blurt this out. I feel like it's on the screen, but like this is a common sense question. Someone blurt it out for me.
Soap and water.
Perfect. And then if you don't have access to soap and water, hand sanitizer is a great alternative. But then when you do have access to soap and water, that's like the best way you can go about it. And hand sanitizer needs to have at least 60% alcohol to be effective. So we are going to watch a little how to wash your hands properly. I'm sure you guys have all seen a video like this before, but I think visuals are very beneficial for our education.
Use a timer. Hand washing should take you about 1 minute. Use a timer or count from 1 to 10 in each of the following steps. Wet hands with water and apply enough soap to cover all surfaces of the hands. Let the water run smoothly to avoid touching the tap later on. Rub hands palm to palm to obtain a good quantity of foam. Then rub right palm over the back of left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub again palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked, repeating this action for each hand. Rub rotationally left thumb clasped in right palm and vice versa. To clean the tips of the fingers, rub rotationally backwards and forwards with clasped fingers of right hand in left palm and vice versa. Rinse hands thoroughly with running water.
Man, they have videos for everything on YouTube.
I know. And I think that's a good visual. It shows you how you should wash like every surface on your hand, because if you don't, it's not really being as effective as possible, and you want to prevent yourself as much as possible. And the same goes for hand sanitizer. So you should follow those same steps when you apply about like a quarter size drop of hand sanitizer, 60% alcohol or more, and you follow those same steps when scrubbing it. And then one thing I want to add with the how is you want to make sure that you're using hot water. I mean, cold water is fine, but hot water is definitely more effective at killing the germs. And then when should we wash our hands? So sometimes we should wash our hands is like after touching a commonly used object, like a door or an elevator button. And that might be a time where you have to use hand sanitizer because you can't like open a door and go run to the bathroom and wash your hands real quick. So you would obviously use hand sanitizer in a situation like that. And then you want to wash your hands before and after eating, after coughing, sneezing, or blowing your nose. And then if you have to touch your face for any reason. So when you're taking on and off your mask, you want to make sure that you have clean hands, because we want to avoid touching our hands for any reason. But if you absolutely have to, you want to make sure your hands are clean so you're not risking transmission of germs. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then number 4 is to clean and sanitize. So we want to frequently clean and prevent the spread of germs. And so faculty and staff, they should be on campus, at least they should be taking care of this by cleaning their rooms before and after use. But how can we take part in cleaning and sanitizing? So obviously, if we have an event of any sort and there's any objects that are being used, we need to make sure we're cleaning them. But like say you book a study room, I know the HIC, you can book study rooms and they have sanitizer and a wipe in there. So when you walk in, you should spray down your tables, you should let it sit for a little bit, and then you should wipe it down. And then before you leave, you should clean and sanitize too. That way you're taking proper precautions for yourself and for those who use the study room after you. Another good idea is to clean your phone, laptop, keys, and then like anything else you might bring on campus, or like maybe you're going to a Starbucks to work on homework or something like that. You want to make sure they're clean, because if I'm picking up my phone, setting it down face down on a Starbucks table, and then I pick it up and put it to my face, all those germs that were just on that table have now been transferred to my face and I'm not even realizing it. So it's little things like that that you want to make yourself aware of so you're not putting yourself at risk. And then hold faculty and staff accountable for cleaning. So say you're walking out of a class the same time as your professor is walking out of a class and they didn't stop and they didn't clean, you should be able to hold them accountable and be like, hey, like, shouldn't we clean these desks for the next class that's coming in? So don't be afraid to hold people accountable for any of these things, like not wearing their mask properly, or not washing their hands. Don't be afraid to stop people, because it's for not only for their safety, but for yours as well. Staying at least 6 feet apart. So individuals should maintain at least 6 feet of separation from others, whether inside, outside, or masked, unless you are members of the same household. So observe the marked spaces. Like you'll see on campus, there'll be little like spot markers in different areas, especially like when you're waiting in line for food or you're going into a classroom or stuff like that. And make sure you're following those, because that keeps you and the people around you as safe as possible. And then, so how long is 6 feet? So these are just some common items that you probably have in your household. Like I have a MacBook charger with me right now to show you, like that's about 6 feet. It's longer than my wingspan. But that just gives you a rough idea. I mean, I'm sure we're all well aware of what 6 feet is now, because we've been in this pandemic for way longer than any of us would have hoped. But like another example is like a yoga mat or a dog leash. I know a lot of you guys probably have dogs, so it's like that length. So just keep that in mind and keep that in the back of your mind anytime you go out in public where you're around other people. Okay, so knowing the symptoms. So you guys have probably seen these posted on any business. I mean, we have to fill out Healthy at NKU, and I'm going to touch on Healthy at NKU next. But you guys have any business, any restaurant, anything that you go into, you've probably seen the signs and symptoms posted on the door because you're supposed to self-check yourself anytime you go anywhere. So cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, fever and chills, muscle pain, sore throat, a new loss of taste or smell, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, sinus infection. These are the most common that they found, but that doesn't mean it can't manifest differently in you. Because I'm sure we've all heard stories about how these people have felt these symptoms and then another person feels the other symptoms, and everybody experiences it differently once they get it. So you know your body best. So when you're feeling under the weather, the most important thing to do is to isolate yourself, call your doctor, get their recommendation. They'll probably tell you just to get tested to be on the safe side, but it's better to play safe than sorry in any of these situations. So if you're feeling just the slightest bit, it's better to get tested than not get tested at all and risk putting others in harm's way. And then you have to isolate until you get your test results back, obviously. Okay, so monitoring your health. So every day before you go to campus or before you do any type of NKU organization event that's in person, you should be completing Healthy at NKU. So I figured I'd just do a little step-by-step here. Sorry, my computer's freaking out. Okay, so what you do is you log on to my NKU. Some of you might not have had an in-person class this semester. And you log in, and this is my account, and it says Healthy at NKU. And you click on it, and then it'll take you to the first question. And you should read the first question. So have you had any of the CDC recognized COVID-19 symptoms listed in the past 3 days? And these are a lot of the ones that I just talked about on the last slide. So based on how you're feeling that day, you would select yes or no. It's all based on how you're feeling. So I selected no because I'm not having any of those symptoms today or in the past 3 days. Then it would take you to the next slide, and it's about contact tracing. So is there anyone in your household who is showing COVID-19 symptoms or who has been diagnosed with COVID-19 in the last 14 days? And I would answer no because I haven't been in contact with anybody. And then it's within the past 14 days, have you been within 6 feet of anyone for more than 15 minutes who is experiencing signs or symptoms of fever, persistent cough or shortness of breath, and who has not been tested or is still awaiting tested? So 6 feet within 15 minutes is considered an exposure. That's what the CDC goes by. So if you've been with 6 feet of anyone, 15 minutes more who's tested positive or who has signs of symptoms of COVID, you need to check yes for this. And then that would take you to the next page. And then have you felt feverish in the past 24 hours? So you would check yes or no. And then when you check that you're agreeing to wear a facial covering on campus, that means it's covering your nose and your mouth like we talked about before. And then depending on how you answered it, you would submit it and it will tell you, yes, like you're allowed to come to campus, or it would tell you no, and these are the people that you need to contact if your results, like based off what you chose. And we'll go to resources here on the next page, I think. But yeah, it's very important. Anytime you're coming on campus, anytime you're coming to an event, you need to make sure that you're filling this out so we can contact trace and we can keep track of who's feeling what, and we can keep everybody safe on campus. Okay, so some additional sources. I know Jessica King commented that St. E, they do drive-up testing for free. You can get your results back in 24 to 48 hours. And there's a lot in the area like that. My recommendation is that you just search on Google. You just literally search COVID-19 testing and it gives you a list of places, and it'll even tell you if you need a referral for it, if you can just walk in, if you need an appointment. So if you're experiencing any of these signs and symptoms, you can get tested on campus too with an appointment. But yeah, there's so many resources in the area that if you have insurance, it's free. But yeah, fuel NKU. I know COVID has impacted a lot of us financially. A lot of people have lost their jobs. They've been cut back on hours, or it's just affecting us in more ways than none. So Fuel NKU is a great resource for all of us to have. And it's in the Albright Health Center, which is the building that's attached to the rec. And it's in 104. And you can go by appointment. And appointment is like after 12 p.m. Some days are like 12 to 3, some days are 12 to 4. But the link that I have at the bottom will take you right to like the Fuel NKU. It'll give you all the resources. And then, but their walk-in hours are from 10 to 12, Monday through Friday. So you can just walk in there. They have food, they have produce, and then they also have toiletry items. So maybe you're not experiencing any of these symptoms of COVID, like you're perfectly healthy, but financially you're hurting. Fuel NKU is a great resource to have and a great resource to utilize. And I don't think we utilize it enough. They have so much to offer. So definitely if you're hurting financially or you just need a little, like a week that you're running a little low on funds, definitely go check them out because they're more than willing to help. And all you have to do is swipe your all card. That's all you do. It's very easy. The student emergency fund that you can apply for financial needs. NKU Police, that's a great resource. Like if you observe people not social distancing on campus or violating any of like the 1 through 7 that we already talked about, they're a great resource to contact and let them know. And then Health Counseling and Student Wellness Center is a great resource, not only for testing, but I know like mentally, this has been a hard year on everyone. I bet everyone can agree to that. Like everyone's been hurt one way or another, like in different areas. So check in with them. They have counseling services. I think a lot of it's via phone, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone might be able to check me on this if you can meet in person with them. Probably not right now, obviously, because we're a red county. But they do have counseling. Definitely reach out to them if you need help. Reach out to a sister if you need help. There's so many great resources on campus. And then I didn't list this, but like Colin, our Panhellenic or fraternity and sorority life advisor, and then Tiffany Mays, they're great resources for us. If you have any questions about COVID rules and regulations or just things in general, they're always there to lend a helping hand. And then my biggest thing that I want to stress, hold on, go back to the last page, get your flu shot. That is a disease we can prevent. While we are trying to prevent COVID with all these ways, like we can get our flu shot and we can take our part in protecting our community in that way. So I know the Kroger by campus does it. Health and Wellness Center does it. You can walk into any CVS, any Kroger pharmacy. They will give it to you for free as long as you have your insurance, and it takes like 10 minutes max. So get your flu shot because that is a preventable disease that you can protect others from. That's my little spiel on that. And then again, this link at the bottom, sorry, Bella. This will take you to the Norse Nine. So everything that I went through, that little video, and you can even just go to nku.edu and search Norse Nine and it'll pull you to that link. And then it has like the direct links to Fuel NKU, Student Emergency Fund, NKU Police, Health Counseling and Student Wellness Center. So it'll take you directly to all of those resources. And then finally, we can go to the last slide. I want us all to take this pledge. So what we're going to do is we're going to all unmute ourselves because we are going to pledge to protect our community and keep them safe and keep ourselves safe. So we're all going to unmute ourselves, and on the count of 3, so everybody unmute yourself. This is going to be a little chaotic, but we're going to do it. On the count of 3, we are going to pledge to keep everybody safe. You ready? 1, 2, 3. I
commit to help keep the NKU community safe, protecting myself, others, community.
Myself, others, and the community.
Yay! But especially like after this Halloween weekend, like continue to keep yourself safe, like monitor your symptoms more than ever, like especially if you did go someplace that like out of the normal, monitor for symptoms and go get tested. There's no harm in just precautionary testing at all because we can do it, so why not? Do any of you have any questions before we end this presentation?
Megan, can I add 2 things?
Yes, go for it.
Resource wise. So Kroger right now is doing like buy one, get one free vitamins because I bought melatonin and vitamin D. But make sure you're like keeping up with your vitamin C, and as it gets colder, your vitamin D, because like we are all still like, we are getting close to the end of this semester. And if we're being seasonally depressed, like we're not going to be able to put 100% into, you know, our work and what we're trying to accomplish even amongst COVID. So like, just take care of yourselves. If you don't have the financial means to get vitamin D, hit your girl up. I will love on you in every way that I can. And in regards to the resources, and the writing center are still open, but they're offering online help, that if like you find yourself struggling in online classes more than just in-person classes, they're a great resource.
I found by that. I went to the writing center and they were so much help with my paper. So yes, reach out to our officers and stuff like Kylie. She can connect you to academic resources as well. And Olivia Allen, our academic excellence chair. So but that is the end of our presentation. Just remember, keep these Norse 9 in the back of your head as we go throughout the rest of the semester, even continuing on to next semester. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. So I appreciate you all and thank you for tuning in to our presentation.
Thank you for joining us, Allison.
Yes, of course. Good job, you all.
Bye, guys. Everyone have a great night.